back down. No, I won't back down. You could stand me up at the gates of hell, but I won't back down. No, I'll stand my ground. Won't be turned around. And I'll keep this world from dragging me down. Gonna stand my ground, and I won't back down. This is the Community Solutions Podcast. Jason Bradley and Richter from deep in the bowels of our underground lair, fresh back from our trip to the border where we crossed the Rio Grande right under the nose of our president, and he didn't even notice.
Huh.
What's going on?
There's a rumor Biden knows where Texas is on a map now. I'm not sure.
Well, he went, supposedly. I don't know if you saw any of the pictures or not, but wow, they cleaned that place up good before he come.
I don't know. What happened to families being together and blah blah blah? What happened to all that crap? I love how the media is calling this a border crackdown. The President of the United States hasn't done squat on this border.
No.
A border crackdown would be like arresting like 3 people out of every million that cross the border. That would be a border crackdown.
Yeah.
It's just a total joke. So,
Maybe they meant that the president like bent over and showed his crack when he was there. I don't know.
But that maybe you ought to do that. That'd probably get everybody turning the other way. It
don't
certainly
know.
would get me to turn around and go back to Ecuador or wherever. I mean, it would definitely moons over Miami. I would definitely take off. I gotta tell you this though.
Yeah.
By the way, I know the song. Even
Yeah.
I know that one.
Yeah.
That's Tom Petty.
That one's a gimme, but it's fit. So
It's all right.
that's good.
Surprised we haven't played that one when you think about it.
Yeah.
The song and it sounds like a political thing. So it's
Yeah, it does.
So Jay, before we get going too far,
Yeah.
What's your take on the Queens?
Oh boy.
Are you ready for the Queens?
You know how bullish I am on the Queens. They stay just close enough to break your heart, right? So I assume, I think I don't even know, who are they playing this week?
The Giants.
They're playing the Giants. They should win that game. They should beat the Giants. I'm surprised the Giants made it in the playoffs. Next week, wherever they go, they're dead. I don't know.
Huh. Well,
Yeah.
they're the number.
It'll be
3
49ers,
seed,
I
right?
think. Yeah.
So they might. I don't know if they'd get a home game. I think
No.
I think the Niners would have to get upset.
Yeah, if that's true, if the 49ers get upset, they will get a home game next week. Yeah.
There's some things that have to change. When I have Nick and Naya on my podcast again soon,
Yeah.
we're going to probably talk about them. But I don't like the division winner getting a home game automatically. I mean, being a
Yeah.
Cowboy fan, and I know people will give me crap about that.
Yeah.
Why does Dallas at 12-5 have to go to Tampa Bay, who was 8-9, 9-8, but they won their crappy division?
Yeah. Well.
So I don't have a problem with the division winner. Divisions go up and down, okay? In NFL,
Right.
you can't play everybody, so it happens.
Yeah.
But should the best record, just because Dallas happens to be in the same division with Philly, and they did split with Philly, they were 1-1. So
Yeah, I don't know. I guess when you look at winning a division, even if it's a bad division, you're still playing against other teams in your division. There should be something for that. I don't know.
I suppose
Should a wild card be able to, they're kind of there by,
Yeah, I mean, there's
know.
too many teams. There's just too many teams.
Yeah.
I have no confidence in the Vikings. I honestly think we lucked out and played the Giants. I was concerned that we'd get Dallas, who smoked us.
Yeah.
I was concerned that we'd end up with Green Bay. I was actually concerned about that.
I was too.
So I thought the Packers would come in here and beat us.
Yeah.
So I think they actually lucked out to getting the Giants. I agree with you, though. I think it's one win, and then they're gone next
Just
week.
like every other Minnesota team.
Whatever.
Right?
I mean,
One and out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you told me they were going to go 13-4, I'd have been shocked.
I was
So
shocked.
But like I said, I mean, how many games can you win with a 60-yard field goal before you finally just Jeff Daniels said it best in the movie Speed. Luck runs out
Yeah.
sooner or later.
Yeah.
And luck runs out. And it's true. You can't win every game by the seat of your shorts. To me, they still haven't put 4 good quarters together
Right.
against anybody. So
Although, as Lloyd Christmas said to Jeff Daniels, so you're saying there's a chance.
Yeah. Well,
or did Jeff Daniels say that to Lloyd
no,
Christmas?
Christmas said
Was
that.
it? Okay.
That was a
that's
Christmas
right, yes.
Christmas quote.
So Jeff Daniels, he kind of splits the.
Yeah, I mean, is there a chance? Sure, but I mean, I don't know.
Yes.
If I had to lay a bet, I'd say they win week 1, lose in week 2. Now, a couple caveats to that. I mean, if the Niners lose and they get to play at home, that may change
That helps.
things.
Yeah.
Obviously, Philly winning or losing. I know Jalen Hurts has been banged up. But here's the thing: you look at there's tons of flaws in the Vikings. Find me a team with no flaws.
Yeah.
There ain't a team. There's not an 80s 49ers
No.
in this playoff.
There's really not.
I don't know.
I know everybody's so up on like the Bills when you look at the AFC side.
Sure.
There's good reason for that. They've got momentum.
Bills and the Chiefs have been the two best teams for the last 3 years.
Everything that went on with the Bills in the last 2 to 3 weeks, it really gives them an edge.
And they're a good team on top of it. So. Yeah, I think the AFC is interesting. I still like my Chargers. I still like them as kind of.
I do like the Chargers.
I like them as the one team that could upset the Bills or the Chiefs. I think they're. I mean, I don't think Jacksonville. I'm sorry they're like Tampa when you get in at 8-9.
Yeah.
A credit to them. 2 years ago, they were the worst team in football. So I'll give them some credit. But Miami, they backed in.
Yep.
I mean, to me, the Chargers are the one team, and I do like Cincinnati.
Yeah, I do too.
And they went to the Super Bowl last year, so you got us. I think it's those 4.
Yeah,
it'll be one of those 4. But I think the Chargers are the one wild card team that I could see making a move.
Right.
In the AFC. Now watch, they freaking get blown out on Sunday.
But
I endorse them. So
as soon as the Vikings are out of the playoffs, I'm going to be on board with the AFC, whoever the AFC is. None of the Patriots aren't going to be there. The Steelers aren't going to be there.
Right,
so
Colts, traditional teams over the last Broncos, all the teams over the last 15 or 20 years.
So I'm kind of like, all right on the AFC.
Well, you got to give it to Kansas City. This is their 5th straight year of being the 1st or 2nd seed in the AFC. I know they've only won the one Super Bowl,
right?
But I mean, you really have to give it to them. You got to give it to Mahomes. They lost Tyreek Hill, and they didn't miss a beat, man. They just didn't.
He's had a good year.
Say what you want, man, but that guy's unstoppable.
Yeah.
Kind of reminds me. Move on to more serious stuff.
Okay. By the way, happy birthday.
Oh,
this is your
yes.
birthday show today, that's good.
And I'm getting over the sniffles.
Yeah.
I was up north last weekend. Had a good time up on the North Shore. So, yeah. It's, I can't I'll tell you what. I can't believe how close I am to 50 years old. You know what's weird?
Yeah.
Is when my dad was this years old.
Yeah.
I was like, man, that's way over the hill. He's still around. He's 75 now. Yeah. And I'm like, holy cow. But I'm closer to 80 than I am to, it's just,
10,
I don't know.
No.
It's weird.
Yeah.
It's just a weird feeling to realize how much time flies. And I'll tell you what, the older I get, the more time's just flying.
Oh, I know.
I mean, I got a machine that'll slow it down, but I just, I can't, I can't stop it. It's crazy.
Right.
Now we go from the Vikings to some real serious stuff, Jay.
Yeah.
You want to bring up some serious stuff.
I do. I have some bad news to talk about before we have some promising things to talk about today. This is from Alpha News. The title of this article is Minnesota Democrats reject ban on barbaric partial birth abortions. Now, this is House File 1. Okay? So what that means, the things that get the lowest number, the things that are numbered 1, 2, 3, those are the utmost priorities for that legislative session. So
right, first bill it's introduced.
Yep. And so this is the first bill they thought they wanted to put forward was expanding the situations in which a woman could get an abortion. This includes partial birth abortions, abortion up until the minute of birth. And it actually goes a step further, and this has nothing to do with abortion. This is where I get frustrated, is that, okay, you say you're pro-choice, but when a woman chooses to have a baby, and then that woman and that baby are killed either by vehicle or by murder or whatever, that is seen as 2 deaths currently. This bill would seek to make that 1 death and exclude the baby from that situation.
Yeah, makes sense with their point of view.
Well,
Makes total sense. Look, Jay.
If the
Jay,
woman's
listen to me.
choosing to have the baby.
But listen,
Yeah.
if that's classified as a person, it
Right.
undermines every single thing they say.
I know.
So that's the whole point. You legally declare that not a person. That person has no rights whatsoever. That's
Right.
the whole point. And I support this, by the way. I think this is a good thing. I think we ought to have this.
You can't even.
I
say
just
it with
wanted
a
to see
straight
the look
face.
on your face.
You can't even say it with a straight face.
I can't
My
say.
word. Oh.
Little birthday joke there.
Yes, that's okay. That's
Now,
okay.
question
Yes.
for you. Question. Now, the Democrats have a 1-seat majority in the Senate, and it's like 6 seats in the House. I mean,
Yeah.
despite what's said, I mean, these are extremely slim. I mean, the Senate couldn't be slimmer.
Right.
Is this something where they start with something extreme and then part of it gets dumbed down to get the votes? Or I mean, do you think everybody's on board with this?
But I don't know how you dumb this down. I mean, already women have the right to get an abortion in the state. It's written into our Constitution.
Yeah, there's a court case, the Gomez v. whatever, I can't remember.
Yes. So it's already legal. In fact, most of Europe has a smaller window in which to get an abortion than we do
Yeah,
here.
United States is one of the most barbaric, actually, when you want to look at it from that point, from that
Right.
way.
Most of Europe cuts it off by 12 weeks.
Yeah, I think it's 12 to 15.
Some of it's late, yeah,
Some-
or
something
earlier
like
than that.
yeah.
I mean,
There's 8 to 15. I think it's 10 to 15,
yeah.
somewhere in there. Pretty embarrassing when a continent whose best days were centuries ago
Yes.
that we're behind them. There's a continent you don't want to be like, it's Europe.
Absolutely. Yes. So this is the Protect Reproductive Options, or PRO Act. It would guarantee a woman's, quote, fundamental right, end quote, to abort her baby for any reason up to the moment of birth. If the bill becomes law, Minnesota would join just a handful of other states with no term restrictions on abortion. Republicans on the committee, it has gone through a committee here, and they unsuccessfully attempted to amend the bill with a requirement for second and third trimester abortions to be performed in a hospital setting because of the increased risk of complications. So the Democrats shot that down too, that you don't have to go to a hospital to get a second or third trimester abortion, which is super risky for the mother.
Yeah, isn't this? Remember the Democrats talking about the back alley abortions? And
Yeah, exactly. But
grab a hedge clippers and
and it doesn't have to be done by a doctor. They don't have to have a doctor come into these other places that aren't hospitals either. It can be done by a nurse practitioner or whatever. Representative Deborah Keel put forth another amendment to outlaw the practice of partial birth abortions, which Democrats rejected. So they rejected partial birth abortions. I don't need to read I don't know. Do our listeners? They're pretty smart. They know what a partial birth abortion is, don't they?
I'm sure they do.
Or you kind of sticking
You
scissors
don't
inside of
want
a
to
head
know.
when
Let's
you
put it that way.
you partially give birth, and because the baby's not fully out of the birth canal, you ram some scissors in its brain.
Huh?
That's great.
Wow.
That's a great practice. History will look kindly on us for that.
We don't even do that to animals.
No. A third amendment would have limited abortion to the first and second trimester, which would have then outlawed the third third trimester. What we know at this point is that babies can feel extreme pain in the third trimester, said Representative Ann New Brindley, author of the amendment. The 3 most common forms of aborting a baby in the third trimester would include being dismembered, burned with chemicals to the point of death, or having a needle stuck through your chest into your heart. Democrats on the committee again rejected the amendment and advanced the bill as written in an 11-8 vote.
I'm sure they stacked this committee, too.
I'm sure. Yeah. Yes. The argument from people in the pro-life community is that this is on par with North Korea and China's abortion laws.
Well, that doesn't offend anybody on the left.
No.
China's
they like that.
Yeah.
They like that. In fact, they probably see those as too humane.
Yeah, they're complimenting them.
Yes. Yes, they are.
Well, and unfortunately, I wish people in the pro-abortion community would, who favor abortion rights but oppose this stuff, had more guts than they do. A lot of them are cowards. A lot of them won't speak out against things like this, unfortunately, and it's too bad. It's sort of like a lot of the transgender stuff and all that. I think they're just afraid. They're coddled into silence.
Yes. One other thing about this bill: if it becomes law, a school counselor can take a student to an abortion clinic without their parents' knowledge. So that's great. Again, just plowing right over parents' rights to be able to take care of their children and have a say-so in their lives. Again, the schools get to ramrod their agenda through, and this is terrible. I mean, where does it go from here if this passes? And you're right, this may not. They may dial it back, although they've rejected all the amendments to dial it back.
Right, but to pass it on the Senate floor with a 1-vote majority, they may have to take some of this stuff out.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm going to make a prediction that 90% of this gets passed.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it will get passed like this. I think maybe a couple things will be taken out. But I've said this before. These are the top priorities of the new majority. It's not giving you your surplus money back. We're fully funding education in this.
Yeah.
We know what's first.
Right.
I mean, it's this crap.
Murder. Yeah.
So it's not a shock. And I think what they want, I think they want this passed in a week. They don't want this dragged out.
Oh no,
the whole time.
They want people to forget about this.
Yeah,
before
by
gets
April, we'll be
near.
on to something else. And
yeah.
So they don't want this to be a political bargain. And the funny thing is, if they would compromise 25%, it'd probably pass easily.
Yeah.
It's like like J.I. came out and endorsed the 12 weeks compromise as a way to reduce abortions, because that's what I'd like to see.
Yeah.
But at the same time, giving up olive branch to the other side. But I don't think they're too interested in that.
Yeah, I don't think they are either. And unfortunately, I mean, they are full-fledged in on this, and one vote, I don't know. It's already moved on to other committees, and there are going to be, like, from what I hear, in the House and Senate, simultaneous committee hearings next week already on this bill. Because you're right, they want to move this through fast. They're already pushing this into multiple committees because it's got to clear several hurdles beforehand. But let's say this does pass with 90% of this. Where do we go from here? Are they going to push for, like California and some other places are trying or have gotten past, where a woman can kill her baby after it comes out if she doesn't want it for a certain amount of time? Is it going to seep into euthanasia? Like in Canada, it's perfectly legal for assisted suicide of older people, but now even for younger people who are depressed or that have physical maladies.
Yes, it's the euthanasia is part of the global agenda, getting rid of undesirables. That has been the agenda for decades. That didn't go away when the Nazis were overthrown.
Right.
It's probably more prevalent today than ever. The idea that you can euthanize people you don't like, or you can create a set of circumstances in which one life is not worth anything, and somebody gets to decide what life is worth it and what life's not.
Right.
Yeah, of course we're headed there.
Well,
Come on, the mob's never satisfied.
Yeah.
So yeah, it has to go further.
And this is just, I mean, it's evil. There's no other way to phrase this.
Well, and again, I come back to I blame Republicans for a lot of this.
Yeah.
During the campaign, I mean, they should have focused on partial birth abortion. They should have. I said this last summer. You focus on the barbarity of this. You don't make it a choice of absolutely no abortion under any circumstances, or even if that's your point of view, or abortion on demand.
Yeah.
You don't make that the choice.
Right.
And they made that the choice in a lot of races. Here, Scott Jensen fumbled that issue left and right.
Yeah.
It was fumbled by other people as well. And Republicans could have taken the lead on this. Instead, they let the Dems take the lead.
Right.
And we're just preserving, the sacred right of an abortion. Well, that's not what they're doing.
Yep, that's true.
But they were never put on the defensive about it. So, quite frankly, I mean, elections have consequences.
Yeah. Well, and like I just said, this is evil. This is on par with. There used to be. I mean, this is really. It's a religion. It's become a religion. Back in way back times in antiquity, there was a god of the, I think, Babylonians called Moloch, and they would sacrifice their children to Moloch. And
isn't that what Billy Ray Cyrus had, a Moloch?
Yes, exactly. I wish he would have sacrificed that. Yes. So it was pretty bad. Okay. So this is I'm going to just read something quick out of 2 Kings, out of the Bible. That Ahaz, who became a king of Israel, king of Judah, I think. Yes, was 20 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 16 years. He did not do what was pleasing in the sight of the Lord and his ancestor David had done. Instead, he followed the example of the kings of Israel, even sacrificing his own son in the fire. In this way, he followed the detestable practices of the pagan nations the Lord had driven from the land ahead of the Israelites. So this is where we're at. We have gone back to sacrificing children. And if you think that that's a step too far, just look at the Church of Satan, the Temple of Satan, and what they're trying to do. They're trying to actually fight for abortion rights in certain states, claiming that they have a religious exemption because of rituals that they have. Huh. And so really, we're on the right side of this argument. If we're fighting for this kind of thing,
well,
you can never convince me that is the case.
Well, I don't know how to respond to that. It's sad enough to see this stuff celebrated. Like I said, I've said this before. I'm not passionate on this issue. It's something I'm not passionate on at all. But, and of course, I'm not a parent or anything. But I can tell you this. What we're discussing right now makes my stomach turn. It is sickening. I'm in some form of disbelief that someone can choose abortion up until birth. You're in labor. Mm-hmm. The baby's coming.
Yep.
And it's not only not a person, but I mean, I can't imagine that. I can't imagine choosing that or being allowed to choose that. I just can't.
Yeah.
2 million families waiting to adopt also in this nation. I mean, why don't we there's people who can't have kids. Why don't they get the joy of life and parenthood?
Yeah.
as well. And I still come back to, I think there's this is the same party that, thinks it's great to, talk to 5-year-olds about having sex.
Yeah.
And then they wonder, then on the other end, there's consequences.
Right.
And it's just, it totally makes no sense.
Well,
it's gross.
This has always been a party of death, destruction. They were the party of hanging people from trees in the South. I'm sorry to say it, but it's true.
Yeah. Lynching was blocked by filibusters for a long, long time from people from South Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee. What party were they? I forgot.
Democrats.
I was debating somebody on in baseball because I hate it when people use sports to push a social agenda.
Me too.
And he was critical of a couple baseball teams for not integrating until the end of the 50s. I said, well, they were still integrated faster than Congress.
Yeah.
Faster than Al Gore Sr. and Robert Byrd and a few other boys. That shut him up quick.
I bet it did.
So, I mean, it's just, it's that kind of thing. It's, I don't know. It's just sad. And I think when it comes to abortion, a lot of people, you turn the other way.
Yeah.
And look the other way and just, they don't want to know the details. They don't want to hear about it. I think it's important that we do. I think it's important that, and I hope that this gets exposed a little bit during this, and maybe the pendulum will swing a little. I don't know.
It's only the most vulnerable people in our society that can't defend themselves in any way, shape, or form.
Well, I said this before. Would you allow puppies to be treated this way?
No.
Would you allow a bird to be treated like this? What?
Yeah.
So why is an innocent unborn child, held to less of a standard than an animal?
Well, because it's human overpopulation that is causing climate change, which is going to kill us all, Andrew.
Yeah,
that's really part of it. When you
that
look,
is part of one of the things that's the Bill Gateses, people like that.
When you look at abortion, when you look at euthanasia, when you look at the drive to have people have fewer kids, it's all based in the same kind of thing.
Well, and if you look at it too, the UN and some other world organizations have pushed the China one-child policy without saying so, but they do push that the government has the right to limit families.
Right.
And you're seeing quasi. Not as out in the open, but you're seeing quasi stuff like that in other nations now.
Yeah.
That they're gonna force sterilization. If you're one of the things too on people who are the less desirable people, or people like the Nazis who put away. There's a movement to sterilize them.
Right.
That they can't have a family because they don't want mental capacity or whatever to be passed down to the next generation. I mean, that is what the Nazis did. I mean,
absolutely.
You can call it what you want, but it's human experimenting. It is the worst of the worst. And I always say this too.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll do a podcast on this someday about how all the top Nazis all got scot-free.
A lot of them came back here.
Well, they came back here as scientists.
Yes.
Arthur Rudolph, Wernher von Braun, who headed NASA. All the ones who made it to South America, from Joseph Mengele.
Yeah.
We didn't get the top people. I mean, I don't want to call Nuremberg a show trial, but by the time Nuremberg happened, we were already fighting the Soviets.
Right.
They were the new enemy.
Yeah.
We had to turn the page. But you look at the top Nazis we didn't get.
No.
We didn't get Goebbels, Bormann, Hitler, Himmler, the scientists. Many of them were captured by the Russians.
Yeah.
We didn't get the top people.
Right.
So their ideas have moved on and they just don't have a Third Reich to call a government.
I mean, you believe Hitler killed himself, right? He's not walking around in Argentina.
I do, but
okay.
But remember, his body was found by the Russians.
Right.
And because Eisenhower stopped west of Berlin.
Right.
And I don't trust Stalin or any of the Russians.
No.
I mean, I think he's dead because I think if the Russians had their hands on him, they would have killed him immediately. Yeah. So, yes, I think he's dead. But Hitler is, I mean, the idea of something goes on after one person. So, I mean Lenin died, and communism didn't die. So
that's why there are skinhead Nazis to this day in this country, and there's kind of an upswing in Europe of some of
anti-Semitism too, very much on the rise in many parts of the world.
Absolutely.
That's a podcast right there, Jay. Mark it down.
Okay, I'll do that.
We should move on. Just keep a file on Senate File 1. Cripe, it might be passed by the time this podcast gets.
I hope not, because it should be out by.
I say it passes pretty fast, with some modifications, but not many.
There's not much stopping it. What's going to stop it?
I don't know. I mean, nothing probably.
The only thing to stand in its way.
The only thing standing in this way are a handful of Dems in purple districts who think the bill just goes a little bit too far.
That's really
they may be pro-abortion, but they may not be okay with taking it this far. But I would still say they think this issue won for them. Yeah. You got to think like them.
Yep.
They think they won because of this.
Absolutely.
So they think they're giving the people what the people want. So, again, you got to think like you're.
Yeah. I would like to see how much money came in from groups like Planned Parenthood into Democratic campaigns with the horse trade-off, that we get you elected, you pass this bill first thing.
I mean, that's American politics there. That's in the real world, that's called, excuse me. In the real world, that's called bribery.
Right. They're behind a lot of this, and Planned Parenthood is also now pushing a lot of the giving hormone blockers to kids without their parents' knowledge and stuff like that. Why? Because it's another way. Once you have a girl that transitions to a boy or a boy that transitions to a girl, they're pretty much sterilized from that point on, with a few exceptions.
Pretty much.
It's another way for population control.
Right. It's another way. Yeah, absolutely.
That's what a lot of this is about. It's sick.
Yeah. I mean, but that's the agenda of the worldwide community, is to reduce the populations of others. Not themselves. Bill Gates can have kids. That's fine.
Yeah.
He can have grandkids. That's fine.
Right.
But you can't. It's that kind of thing.
Boy. You ready to talk about something uplifting?
Yeah, I am a little bit. I mean, you're so negative, Jay.
It's me, yes.
You have just no faith anything good will ever happen. I mean, it's just... I just can't believe how negative you are.
Yeah, it's me. I am the negative Nelly of the show. That might be true. I don't know. You might have a point. But yeah, want to highlight a group we haven't really heard of before, but they're kind of linked in with some people we know, and so I'm kind of interested in what they got going here. First found this. I don't remember what I was Googling, but there was an article on the LosAngelesBlade.com, which I guess, I didn't know this, but I think is like a LGBTQ type publication or whatever. They're lamenting about a new group in Minnesota, the Minnesota Parents Alliance, who are claiming to be nonpartisan and have launched an effort to gain quote-unquote parental rights on state school boards, partnering with anti-LGBTQ organizations, and endorsing candidates who denounce pride flags and critical race theory. It's funny, parental rights has become the new word that the left has tried to demonize. Like it's a bad thing. They've tried to equate it with like militia. Parental rights,
well,
militias, January 6th. It's all the same.
Ruby Ridge.
Yeah, right.
I think when your world revolves around government.
Can I just say the government was wrong in Ruby Ridge? That didn't work out so well.
Yeah, that wasn't too smart, was it? Yeah, Waco. Although I think they shoulder part of the...
Probably the lion's share. Just saying.
We'll get into that yet. But
maybe that's another podcast.
Maybe.
Yes.
When government's your be-all, end-all, know-all, and you don't believe anything beyond that, you don't want anything to get in the way of that.
Right.
You don't want some pesky mom or dad, some soccer mom or some, you got to remember, the most brilliant people in their minds work in government. So
right.
I can understand that. If anybody who gets in the way of their agenda, they're going to demonize, marginalize, call them names. You'd think
yeah,
they would be smart enough to make an effort to reach out to parents. If you really want to, here's why, Jay.
yes.
If you really want to push something, it's pretty much useless if it's not reinforced at home.
Yes.
It's kind of like learning. You could teach a kid stuff, math, science. I know for me, the learning was reinforced at home by my parents. My mom was a member of the PTA, and I don't remember a adversarial relationship between teachers and parents back then.
Nope, me neither.
I mean, if there was, I didn't know about it. My mom would have certainly been in the middle of it and wasn't. And it was encouraged that stuff was enforced at home.
Yes.
Not discouraged. No teacher said to my parents, hey, you don't talk about this at home.
Right.
How dare you make sure read your kid's homework? So you'd think if they were smart, they would get parents on board.
Yeah, you would think so.
Or they would
but
compromise 25%. They can get some of their agenda.
Right.
They'd sneak by, but, you just think they'd be smarter than that.
Although you've got a lot of parents these days are just dumb.
You got a lot of dumb. I'll tell you what.
Taking their kids to these quote unquote family friendly drag shows. Those parents deserve to have their kids CPS'd from them.
Here's the other thing.
Yes.
You got to have a license to drive a car. You got to have a license to go fishing. What don't you need a license for?
Parenting.
Yeah. And while I'm for, I'm not for population restriction.
Yeah.
It's almost like I trust nobody to do this. It's almost like you need a course on parenting.
Yeah.
Now, I don't trust anybody to teach it.
Right.
But, it's almost like there's I think what's happened, if I can, and again, I'm not a parent, so it's easy for me to sit back and criticize. I think there's two things going on.
Okay.
I think one is there's a keeping up with the Joneses.
All right.
I grew up with, if I had a baseball bat and a bike, and a glove, and a soccer ball or a football, my life was perfect.
Yeah.
We didn't need 6 bedrooms. We didn't need 5 TVs. Everybody didn't need a cell phone. Of course, they didn't have them. There's a feeling now, I believe, among parents that my kid has to have everything.
Right.
My kid can't go without a thing. My kid's going to have everything I didn't have. And I think that's very prominent. I also think the amount of broken families and one parent trying to be the good guy and one person trying to be the parent is there's a tug of war going on.
Oh, absolutely.
Now, some divorced parents are great.
Yeah.
Some of them are. But sometimes the kid becomes the pawn. And I think those two factors have changed so much. What we need, quote unquote, has really changed.
Yeah.
And again, the amount of the destruction of the nuclear family, I always come back to that, of having so many consequences.
Well, and like all this other stuff we've already talked about today, I mean, that's been on purpose.
Yeah, I know. The
It's
government's
been
replacing the
manufactured.
father. Yeah.
Yeah. They've figured out a way to do it in low-income homes and in high-income homes, and anytime in entertainment where the dad is always the idiot, it's
Yeah, and I'll tell you that, like I've said this before too, the saddest thing.
Yeah.
Was watching my nephew play soccer, and a kid scored a goal, and no parents saw it. They were all looking at their phones.
Huh.
Nobody cheered. It's me, my sister, and my wife, and that was it. And it was just one of the saddest things I ever saw. I was like, can't put your stupid phone down, or talk to your person next to you about what you're going to wear tomorrow.
Yeah.
But you can't do, you just, people I just think are more self-centered than ever. It's just the truth. It's unfortunate.
And I hate to say it, but I think that my generation has done such a disservice to the following generation of children. We wonder why they turned out the way that they did, but we're the ones who enabled them with participation trophies.
We act like a lot of people act like they don't have a hand in it.
I know, but it's things like that.
Give kids a sticker at school for going to the bathroom.
Yeah,
ooh, have a sticker.
I know.
Ooh, you raised your hand. Let's all give a round of applause.
Yes,
but that is part of it too. Nobody can feel bad.
Yeah,
and I think that the drugging of this country has been something not talked about either.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm depressed. Oh, I don't feel right. I'm going to take pills. I'm going to ply my kid with pills because, they can't sit still. You know what that's called? Being a kid.
Right. But I think a lot of adults have refused to grow up too, which is a huge issue.
Yeah.
It's like I'm 45 and I'm playing in a dodgeball league. It's
I'm 46 and play softball.
Well, people have played softball for a long time. That is more of an older person sport.
Thank you, Jay.
Yes.
I appreciate that. I'll be golfing next.
More of an old person sport. Yes, you'll be golfing in the summer, bowling in the winter. That's what's next. That's what's next in your future.
That's what I know. I'm my dad. Oh, wow.
I remember as a kid going with my grandpa when he would go golfing and then go bowling. Yeah, absolutely. Him and the guys from church would go, and there I was, and didn't make me any good at it. But anyways, so there's a lot of reasons, but there are parents that are wanting to stand up. Parents who are wanting to return to a different time when there was a different set of expectations, a different set of norms that we followed. This Minnesota Parents Alliance lists several conservative groups under its helpful organizations tab, including the Child Protection League, which the Southern Poverty Law Center lists as an anti-LGBTQ hate group. Oh, that's lovely. Let's bring in somebody. Let's bring in a group that we know is skewed in the first place and quote them. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, quite frankly, it is concerning to me that labeling people, the whole term hate group, hate crime. I've always had an issue with that. That anybody you disagree with, you label a hater, and it's people who can't debate, don't want to debate, don't want to persuade people to their point of view. The haters are often the ones who are complaining about hate.
Yes.
So,
but then the article goes on
anybody take the Southern Poverty Law Center seriously anymore?
No. Well,
what's sad?
Some people do, obviously.
What's sad is there was a time they did good work for civil rights and things like that, and voting rights.
Yeah.
There was a time that group did a lot of good. Back in the 60s and all that.
I'm sure.
But what they've turned into now is just everything that they fought against. They're just a partisan hack group now that no one takes seriously anymore.
Well, anyone on the right, anyways.
Well, I mean, I'm not sure that a group pushing that parents should be involved in their kids' lives could possibly be labeled a hate group. I mean, that's pretty extreme to say that.
But they're trying. They are trying.
They ought to look at what happened in Virginia in 2021 as just a great example of what happens when you double down on that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Just me.
Yeah. So, anyways, they talk about how some of the people that rallied in front of the state capitol that they said they were supporters of the group. Were they? Who knows? Some were carrying signs with crossed out images of pride flags and CRT, referring to critical race theory. And then they go on to say that it's a graduate level academic framework, but we all know, and we've talked about it on this show, that is all wrapped up in social emotional learning. No, kids who are in 5th grade don't go and learn the tenets of critical race theory, but critical race theory is infused into what they learn at their level in their different subjects, and that's not even debatable anymore. And it's, as we've explained, it rides on the chassis of social emotional learning because it gets kids to think about things emotionally rather than looking at facts, because as we have also talked about on this show, facts are racist.
Yeah. Well,
so
the system is systemically racist.
Yes. So, anyways, this group has backed a bunch of candidates for school board races and stuff like that. And, of course, the Los Angeles Blade reviewed the list of candidates, finding a lack of racial diversity. Oh, boy. So, it's
funny.
Yeah.
You look at a lot of school boards in this that elect people on the left.
Yes.
You'll see the same thing.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing, though. This isn't California. This is Minnesota. In the cities, there's a lot more diversity, but a lot of cities, even in the metro area, you're going to find are somewhere between 60 and 90% Caucasian.
Yes. And I would say 60 is pretty much on the low end.
Yes.
You really have to go. You go to, I live in Plymouth, and I can tell you it's probably 80. Okay.
Yeah.
You look in. So I mean, of the candidates who are going to go, and you have to go win elections. This isn't winning elections is not a affirmative action program.
Yeah.
I mean, but seriously, it isn't. You got to go win. You got to go put in the effort. You got to knock on doors. You got to raise money. You got to put out yard signs. You got to have the right message. Be the right messenger.
Yeah.
I mean, the idea that we're going to have some sort of quotas to school board candidates?
Yes.
Ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, if African American folks wanted to run for office, put in the time, put in the effort, it's a tremendous amount of work. I've done it. The only thing stopping so many things, Jay, in life are stopped by yourself.
Yeah.
There so many walls are put up by yourself. You rationalize it. I don't have the time. I don't have whatever. But many walls, in my opinion, are self-put up.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely. Well, let's take a little look at this group and see.
Man, you take a look.
Yeah. You go to minnesotaparents.org to see their website. They have a voter guide right on there. They have a donate button. Minnesota Parents Alliance educates and empowers Minnesota parents to effectively engage in their school community as strong advocates for academic achievement, equality, and parental rights. You notice they didn't say equity there. They said equality.
Ha! Yeah.
A little bit of a difference. I mean, as we all know, equality, everybody gets an opportunity. Equity, everybody gets the same outcome. And that is part of the problem, isn't it, Andrew?
No question. Without a doubt.
Yes. So
Totally different mentality.
totally different mentality. And that is kind of what we're all fighting for, is that everybody deserves a shot at not just because of what you are, but who you are. I mean, it has become, they have had to go to such extremes, not this group, but the people on the left, to even say for white people to talk about Martin Luther King is racist, which that is just them trying to shut up what they already know is true. It is about the content of character. Martin Luther King said it was about the content of character, and that is not what they believe, and so they have to shut people up that believe that,
including him.
Yeah,
I mean, they'll celebrate him, but they don't abide by the words he said.
no.
I mean, yeah, I always say this. I wonder how many Americans have actually heard Dr. King's entire speech there in 1963. Not just that line.
Yeah.
Go back and listen to that entire speech. It was like God gave him words to speak. That's what I think.
Oh, absolutely.
And I would say that what he says there is such a blueprint for how to live your life. And I don't know if he realized what he was saying. I still think Dr. King recognized that he transcended blacks.
Yeah.
He wasn't just speaking to blacks. I mean, I think he understood that. I think some people around him didn't.
Right.
But I think he did. And if you go back, and it's an inspiring speech to me.
Yeah.
And I can't. And for black people, it has to be even more. I just wish we followed it. If anything, we've moved to the opposite. It's so sad that since the 60s, I mean, you think about American history, in slavery and segregation and things like that, you know, they weren't around that long ago.
Yeah.
You know, like when my dad was a kid, not here in Minnesota, but there were white and black drinking fountains.
Oh, yeah.
Blacks sat at the back of the bus. You know, I mean, it wasn't that long ago. Okay, it was 60 or 70 years, but, you know, and now it's not only is everything about race, I would argue race dominates every conversation everywhere. At the workplace, it dominates sports, it dominates politics. It's hard to find. Television.
It is trumped only by sexuality and identity.
I don't think so. I don't think that trumps it.
Really?
I don't. I think that's number two.
Because I think that, again, it's this intersectionality matrix that if you have a gay black person, that's better than a straight black person. You know, it's akin to having.
Yeah, I guess in that.
You know,
regard, I see what you're saying.
It's akin to having, you know, two pair versus a pair, or, you know.
Right, but I think what I mean is that the idea of looking at race as and checking those boxes,
yeah,
is more prevalent today than I've ever seen it.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, you go back 30 years. I got to be honest. I never watched a television show and paid attention to who was white or black or who was.
No,
I don't recall that. I don't recall calling the Cosby Show a black show.
Oh no, I loved that show.
Yeah, but I mean, it was a good show. It was a good show that.
The Jeffersons, I love that show.
Jeffersons was great. Wheezy.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, you had the black characters on there, you had the white characters on there.
Yeah.
They got along.
But now it seems like I've said this about sexuality. You find me a show where there's no gays.
Yeah.
Find me that show. It's like there's a memo sent to every producer saying, your show can't get on the air.
Oh, yeah.
Unless there's a transsexual.
Well, and
or
that's
gay.
the thing. It's in TV shows, it's in commercials. Have you noticed in commercials that there are very few white people in commercials?
Yeah.
Now,
pretty
they're
much
mostly,
none.
you have more black people than white people. And you have, you know, your Asians and Hispanics and gays and things like that. But even though the majority of the people in this country are still white, straight people, that they are far overshadowed in commercials, in TV shows, and I'm not saying that it's a bad thing that we've got blacks that are getting parts in acting, that we've got Latinos and or as the president says, Latinx.
Yeah, I mean, I want everybody
yes.
to succeed.
Yes, absolutely. If you're the best person for the role, you should get it. But when we get to a point where it's like, oh, okay, you act for a living, but you're not allowed to act in certain parts because it needs to be filled by somebody else.
But I think that has entered every turn on ESPN. You won't go 5 minutes without race being a topic.
I can't turn on ESPN.
And it doesn't have to be ESPN.
Yeah.
It can be any sports show. And the only thing talked about will be race.
Yeah.
It will be, you won't listen 30 seconds without race coming up. Look at the NFL.
Yeah.
They force black coaches to be interviewed in every single job. So if I'm a black coach, am I getting interviewed because this person wants me, or am I getting interviewed to fill some quota that they've been handed down?
I would be insulted personally, but it's like, am I good enough? I don't know.
Well, there are plenty of them that are good enough.
Absolutely.
But again, it comes down
but
to...
I'd say that's what I'd be asking myself.
Yeah, I would be too. I would be too. And you have to wonder if you get resentment from other folks. It causes friction by doing that. I just, and again, the road to hell's paved with good intentions. I want black folks to succeed, but I want them to succeed on merit.
Yes.
So, yeah. I mean, getting back to this group, I want to say one of the things I really like is under their taking action category. And this has got to just drive opponents of this bananas. Absolutely nuts. Because they have a lot of how-tos, and this is something you and I have talked about a lot over the years, Jay.
Yes.
How to write an op-ed, how to write a letter to the editor, how to ask questions, what to look for in an answer, knowing your rights, how to file the Freedom of Information Act. A lot of things questions to ask your school officials. This is great, okay?
Yeah.
Number one, they propose about a dozen different questions you could possibly ask. And what to do if you get a certain answer. Look at number 2, for example. Antiracism, which you are promoting as official school policy, which pretty much everybody does.
Right. And we should just say, it's been a while since we've talked about it.
Yeah.
It's great to be anti-racist, right? No, because it's good to not be racist, but anti-racism really is a cover for racism. Anti-racism is allowing discrimination against a certain group in order to lift up a perceived discriminated
to
group.
Me, what it really is it's the assumption that all white people are racist.
Yeah.
And you need to realize that.
Yeah.
And get it out of you.
Right. You need to purge yourself of your whiteness.
Yes.
And
get rid of your privilege. Go to your touchy-feely class. Bring yourself down. That's really anti-racism.
Right. But also, it goes a step further, and it's okay to discriminate. If somebody hires a less qualified person because of their race and leaves a more qualified white person out, that's okay, because these people need to be lifted up and the white person needs to be quashed down, brought down a couple of pegs, as it were. Yes. So that, okay. Keep going with your point there.
Just some other things, some things about advancing social justice, trying to get board members to define what that means exactly. Asking what your white privilege is. I mean, they talk about how to go on school board policies.
Yeah.
We'll have this kind of, muffy kind of words and try to get them to be specific. But these questions have to drive the public school folks just nuts.
Yeah.
just great. But Freedom of Information Acts are very important. Investigating consultants paid by your district. That is also critical.
Yes, it is.
Because some of them can be hard to find. It can be hard to find info on consultants. It can be hard to find info on these groups. Some of them, do a good job of disguising who they really are, and things like that with good sounding words and colorful brochures. So there's this whole section right here, to how to effectively communicate what you're trying to get across. But by asking questions, letters to the editor, Freedom of Information Act, it really is a good guide here that they have about taking action. And they don't necessarily go after anybody when they say this, but it's good to try to get these folks. Because when you say social justice to a public school official, they have no idea what that really means. It just sounds good, but I think they pretty much have no idea whatsoever.
Yes, that's true.
So it's that's good stuff that they have.
Yeah.
That's got to drive the social justice people nuts, though.
I'm all right with that.
They have a lot of local groups. We should point this out.
Yeah.
There's probably 30 of them here.
Yeah.
So that might be another thing. The smaller the group, the better sometimes. And so they have a lot of links to, if you live in any of these areas, there's, up in Brainerd has one, and Pequot Lakes has one, and Forest Lake, and Anoka Hennepin, and Centennial, Roseville, Mounds View. We know District 728 out in Elk River. Hutchinson, Pine Island, Delano. There's a lot of these groups have popped up all over the state. And I want to say something, too, here about this. One thing that I think proponents of this should do, and Jay, I have said this before, I'll say it again, is be as nonpartisan as you can possibly be.
Yes.
You make this about Republican, Democrat,
You're done.
and this is going to backfire. You make this about parents getting information, parents asking questions, parents showing up at meetings, parents writing letters to the editor, parents being concerned about what's taught, parents wanting to know what's taught, parents wanting to be informed. You make it about that, this will be effective.
Yeah.
You make this about blue and red, you're effed.
Yeah.
I am sorry, but parents' rights should not be a left versus right issue.
No, it should not. Everybody should care about their kids enough to make sure that they're getting a good education, that they're provided with all the opportunity that they need, that they are being taken care of physically, that their safety is being looked out for, all of these things. But we have gotten off into all of this weird stuff where it's all about how do you feel, how do you identify, where do you come in on the intersectionality matrix, and it doesn't help the kids at all. In fact, it just screws them up more. So they're walking around at the mall with blue hair, and
that was you back at Old Proctor High School.
I didn't have blue hair.
Oh,
no, I did not. In fact,
green and orange, Miami Hurricanes.
My family, my background, very conservative Scandinavian background, where you're not going around with long hair. No, I was able to negotiate a mullet that came close to it. It brushed my collar, That's that's about as much as I could get until I hit college. Then it was all bets were off. But yeah, it was not quite high and tight, but yeah, that was hard to even get anything that it even looked a little shaggy. So,
well, I just want to know if I came home with like a ring through my nose or like I can just imagine my father pulling it right out.
oh, I never did. My brother got his ears pierced, and I think my grandma just cried.
I never liked that.
Yeah.
Ear piercings and tattoos
Yeah.
are something I've never understood. I don't care for tattoos. I don't know why. I don't hate people who have them. I
like them. I just don't know if I have the guts to do it.
Tell you what, I came this close
Yeah.
one time
Yeah.
to going to a tattoo party.
Yeah.
And I don't know what stopped me because I was half in the bag, and I don't know what stopped me from going. But it was just like, and one person said, it hurts like hell. One person said, it's no big deal. I didn't know what I wanted, didn't care, just thought,
Yeah.
when I'm 50, I'm going to regret this, and I would have. I was about 23 or 4 at the time.
Well, when you're thinking about getting tattooed on your right butt cheek.
Snap it to a Slim Jim. Ooh, a bunch of intelligent Confuciuses over here. Yeah, I'm gonna take it all. Yeah, when you're gonna do that. Yeah, I could have regretted that for sure. So I'm glad I didn't.
Yes.
I'll tell you what, too.
Yeah.
One of the things they have on here is they click to a lot of news stories, and I mean, it's pretty tough going around reading some of this stuff because it's it shows you the veracity that there is against some of this was quoted on Alpha News as well, but take what happened in the Burnsville district, where students can now conceal. Burnsville district can now conceal students' gender identity from parents. The new guidelines allow students to socially transition and hide it from their folks. Now, just think.
Yes.
They can't take a Tylenol at school without their parents' permission.
Yep.
But if they want to change their gender, they can do that.
Yes.
I mean, priorities, anybody?
Yeah. Absolutely. And
since when do people under 18 have a right to privacy? A school can bust into their locker anytime they want to. But yet their gender, oh no, that's private. Sorry, but kids don't have the same rights as adults do. They don't.
They don't.
I didn't have them when I was a kid either.
That's true.
So what the hell?
Yeah, but lots of stories here. Forest Lake School Board candidate says parents should butt out of the classroom. That's great.
Who's that spasticated spankulera? We got to see if that person won or not. Ashley Bulmer is running. This is, I don't know when this was from, back in September. Written by Bill Walsh. Is that the guy from the 49ers?
It might be.
We got to check and see if she won or not, Jay.
Okay.
In a TikTok video. What's TikTok?
It's another. It's a Chinese communist-owned social media platform that all the kids are on and giving all their information to the communists. So that's great too. So I know Trump tried to get rid of them, and then they had gotten some American ownership, but it's still somehow under this umbrella, and it's I think pretty well known that all the information is still going to the Chinese Communist Party.
Oh, I see.
So You're lucky you're not signed up for an account there. I could see you on TikTok. Everybody does their fancy dances and whatever. It's strange. It's a strange environment.
Yeah, apparently this chick removed her video from TikTok and deleted the whole account.
Really?
Yeah, her campaign website still included a bunch of stuff.
Let's see. I don't even know. Did they say
Forest Lake is District
what?
831 if you need that.
Yeah, I do need that for this. School district races. They're all in numerical order, so it's kind of important to know what the district is. 831 Forest Lake. Go. Where are we? Ashley Bulmer. How many are they picking here? Elect 3. She did not win. So that's good news for everybody.
Oh,
She actually came in next to last out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yippee-ki-yay.
That's it. That's good. She needs to not be on a school board. She has other things she can go do with her life that I think are a little better than that. So
I wonder who picked up on this other than Bill Walsh, by the way, works for the American Experiment, I should say. But I wonder if anybody else picked up on any of that, or if, once again, the only people doing this were groups like this.
Yeah. Roseville School Board wants to scrap public comment to silence dissent, residents say. So yeah, there's a lot of good stories on here. And that's the thing, though. There is an effort. I know they don't like to say that there's an effort, and they'll actually say there's no effort. But there is an effort to silence parents, and that's what, when we looked at that other article from that rag out in California, that putting the quotations around parents' rights, and they don't want parents involved, and a lot of times they won't say things out loud, but that is the common comeback that they'll have when parents want to get involved, is that they're not really welcome.
Well, I think there's also an attitude that, hey, we're the professionals here.
Yes.
We're the experts. Who the hell are you? You're just a parent. You got 6 teeth. You got, you got a job that's beneath me. We have college degrees.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of, that, how can I put it? That attitude is very much there.
Yes, absolutely.
That elitism, I think anyway. It's
yeah, they don't want that,
Well, and I'll tell you what. I mean, Jay, you and I have talked about this before. I mean, what's that magic number of kids that have to leave before something changes?
100%.
Yeah, you know what I see it doing nothing but getting worse.
Yeah.
I don't see it getting better. I see everything almost getting. It's like the more that kids leave, the more people that have left the public schools, it's almost like the more they dig in to what they were doing.
Right.
Rather than standing there going, okay, why are these people leaving? My favorite is the Robbinsdale district. That's my favorite.
Yeah.
Because, their answer to everything is to go take a survey. Of course, at our expense. I always sit there and say, it isn't that hard to figure out why it's happening. I mean, if I can figure it out, why do you need a survey?
Yeah.
Why are kids leaving? I don't know. We'll take a survey, and we'll take 2 years to do that, and then we'll take 4 years to implement something. And
yeah.
By the time your kids graduated from college, we'll have an answer.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing. I mean, when you take a survey, you're allowed to just say, "Well, we looked into it. We're working on it."
Yeah, it's a lazy answer.
Yeah.
We know why people are leaving. It is what you're teaching. It's the performance. It's the discipline in the school. School
Right.
safety. It's some people are not there for spiritual reasons. They want spirituality taught. And of course, who has taken God out of the classroom? Okay, who's done that?
Yeah.
So you've driven those people away. They're not welcome.
Yep.
So, I mean, again, you want to know what the problem is? I mean, you can figure it out. It's not that hard. Forcing somebody to wear a mask, canceling school every time there's, a quarter of an inch of snow. I mean, I could go on and on with all the reasons why people leave. It isn't difficult.
Right. But, they're never going to admit that.
Right, but Jay, let me ask you something.
Yeah.
What is it about the public school system that makes it so ingrained here? I mean, it is obvious even to people on the left that the public school system's not working for everybody.
Right.
I mean, you have to be blind not to see that. And I think a lot of them agree with that. A lot of them agree. Yeah, it isn't good enough. The results aren't good enough.
Yeah.
And we've thrown money at it. We've called everybody a racist. We bus kids from one school to another. And it hasn't done squat. So why is it that why do the public schools why are they so ingrained in this country?
Well, I mean, it's hundreds of years of this is the way we've done it. And granted, the public school system has changed over time. It has evolved, and it's really, evolved into a monster is what it's done. But it, like anything else in the public sector, it acquires more power unto itself. It acquires more power under itself. It acquires more power under itself, and it just shuts out everybody else.
I don't know what's it, I used to be an optimist. I don't know what's going to get rid of this. I keep thinking they're going to collapse under their own weight. And I think to a certain degree theology has broken down the barriers a little bit too.
Yeah.
But I'll be honest with you, whether there's 10 people at public schools or thousands, they seem to just get what they want.
Yeah,
I mean,
true.
There's no stopping getting what they want. And you know what? I'll tell you what, though. If you're going to change it, you have to get into it. So I applaud these people who've gotten into office. I hope that they're able to make some changes. This problem is not going to go away with one election.
Right.
But, no doubt about it, that this system can't go on the way it is. It just can't.
Right.
And, you think of all the things that aren't taught in public schools anymore. You want to know why we're behind in jobs. You don't want to know when we farm out manufacturing. You want to know why certain things are dying. It's because of this push to get everybody to a 4-year college. This push to not teach to the jobs that are out there. I mean, it's insane.
Yeah, it is insane, and we see all these jobs that are going unfilled, all these jobs that where there's shortages, and still we're trying to push kids into 4-year degrees that they don't need.
Yeah, a 4-year degree in, Native American hemorrhoid healing. And that's I mean, it's the kind of thing too where you have no practicality. You're lying to kids. To even have a program like that is lying to people.
Yes.
It's not giving them basic things that they need. I mean, and again, I want everybody to be successful, but I go back to when I was a teenager. Boy, the 4-year schools were pushed on me.
Oh yeah, me too.
You know, it was my parents pushed it on me.
Yeah.
You know, you don't get a degree, you're not going to have a chance.
Right.
And of course, me, you know me.
Yeah.
The more they push me to do something, the more I gave them the middle finger. And so, which I mean, I don't blame them for pushing me to continue education. I don't blame
Right.
them for that. But if it was on my terms, I might have done it. Pardon me. But I don't regret it because I wasn't getting on. But all I did was screw around anyway, and took all my bad habits from K through 12, where I didn't do any work. So you know, which one of these days I've got to tell stories about my school experiences.
Yeah.
Because people don't believe me when I say I never did homework. It's totally the truth.
Yeah.
And it's just I have great stories about it. So you know, it would make a great. Maybe on my show we'll do it. I'll tell stories about how I never did homework.
I did homework. I didn't really ever study for tests or anything.
I always
until
say
college.
this.
Yeah.
I always say this: if I'm in school for 8 hours a day, why do I have to be in school when I get home?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that was kind of my philosophy. No, I'm not in school anymore.
Right.
Then when I got into college, I remember I had to pick a day and study. So I picked Sunday night. Worst day.
Yeah.
Worst day you could. Spent all day watching football. Sunday night I didn't want to do
You're
anything.
upset because the Vikings lost.
Yeah, I know.
Which,
Pissing and moaning.
yeah.
And then, man, I got to dust off the old biology book. I wasn't in the mood to learn about mating wildebeests. So screw this.
I don't think that was in your biology book. I don't know.
That's biology, ain't it?
Yeah, it is.
So, Jay, parents, what is this again? Minnesota what now? We got to get this right.
Yes. This is called the Minnesota Parents Alliance. MinnesotaParents.org. Yeah, maybe we should invite them on the podcast sometime or something.
Sure.
And have a discussion, because I think there are things that we as parents don't know that's happening in our schools, and we only hear what gets out into the press, which is very little.
There's some of that too.
You know, and there's definitely a drive to keep that information under wraps, just like with everything else that they do over on the left side. You know, they do it, they cover for each other, but here, you know, when you got a group like this that is researching these things, and that's good. You know, it's just a matter of getting them to, you know, help them get the word out. So
yeah, and I think it's important if you have a local group to really get involved. Look on their page for that. If your area has one, and if they don't, what stops you from starting it, Jay?
right.
Remember that? What stops you? You don't sit around and wait for somebody else to do it. You do it.
If you have the idea, it's probably because you're supposed to do it.
Yeah, and you know, and I'll tell you what, I really believe in divine intervention sometimes.
Yes.
Because it could be the start of something. Whatever inspired me to go and meet all you guys, and when I first met everybody.
Yeah.
One of the greatest things I ever did in my life.
Yep.
Why I did it, I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I got tired of arguing with the television. I don't know what it was, but it was one of the best decisions I ever made. And I'm telling you, when you get around like-minded people, it's inspiring. When you get around people who are just, you think you're the only one sometimes, but you just have to trust us here, folks. You aren't. You're never the only one.
That's true.
So it's big, you know, to be able to do that. And you got to get involved, I'm telling you. You just got to.
Yeah, if education isn't your thing, there are other groups out there with other focuses, or just, you know, running for office is a huge thing, you know. But you can't do these things alone. You got to have a team of people to help you, and it's, you know, there's nothing like it in the world. when you're able to actually be in a position to help rather than just complain. It feels a million times better because you're empowered to be able to speak your mind and affect change. And that's why we got into this, is because we wanted to be able to have a little bit of control over the destiny of our city, or our state, our county.
Yeah. Yeah, it relieved a feeling of hopelessness. I mean,
Right. Yeah, it's true. I think the more you sit around and complain and you don't engage in something, it is easy for hopelessness to set in. It's easy to say things are never going to change. It's easy not to see the things that are happening and give in to that. But when you're pressing in and you're doing something about it, I think that is when things begin to shift.
Yeah.
I
hope so. Well, good luck to these groups. And I tell you what, though, like I say as advice, make it as nonpartisan as you can. Make it about the issue, not about being red or blue. It's just important to understand that the second you have a label put on, do that.
Right.
It I don't know. That's just me. These are nonpartisan offices, and they should be.
Yeah.
So, anyhow, Jay.
Yes.
On that note,
the World Wrestling Federation.
Yeah.
50 years, the revolutionary force in sports entertainment.
I had to play the beginning once. We all know what time it is, don't we?
Yes.
It's time for styling and profiling. Jet flying, limousine riding, wheeling dealing, son of a gun. The music of the great Brother Love. The one, the only, Jason Bradley. Take it away.
Thank you, Andrew. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. There are a lot of bad things happening in this state, but there are some good things happening in this state. Some people say, you got to move to a place like Texas, or you got to move to Florida in order to be around people that are like you. But if we gave up everything where things are bad, things are challenging, I don't know. How quick does it take us to be in a position where the people who are wanting to destroy what America is dismantle our country bit by bit by bit by bit? I know that the answer in Atlas Shrugged was for everybody just to give up and go form their own society. Well, you know what? We're not going to do that. Not yet. The time is not yet to totally withdraw. But I believe there are still voices out there that can win people over. I believe that there is music. I believe that there's movies. I believe that there are speakers. And I believe that there are those that care enough about what is going on, that know how to reach a generation, that it's not yet too late. So we're out here. We're putting our shoulder to the grindstone in order to be able to help in any way we can. And, groups like this that are also putting in work to do what they can. And it's in the coming together of these groups that we're going to find the power that we need. Not to have power over other people, but to be able to release freedom. That there's power in numbers. And too many times we try to recreate the wheel. I don't like the way they're doing it. I'm going to do it my way. And so you got all these splinter groups and nothing gets accomplished. Instead, we got to learn to walk through this together. That we can't just take our own thing, go play by ourselves over in the corner. That's never going to get anything done. No, instead, we have got to move forward. We've got to become unified. We may not agree on everything, but there's a lot we agree on, and there's a lot that we can work on. And the things that we don't agree on yet, we can figure out a way in which we can come together later. But let us tackle some of these things that seem to have no way out. Let us go after these groups, like the Southern Poverty Law Center. Let us go after these groups like NOW, like NARAL. Let us go after these groups like Planned Parenthood, like Our Streets Minnesota. Let us figure out ways to talk about what we believe in a way that connects with people. Because we cannot continue. We have the winning answers. Freedom is always the winning answer. But too many times, it takes a back seat. Too many times, we don't know what to say, how to say it. We don't have the money behind us that these other organizations on the left have, because they get all this George Soros money and David Brock money. And you know what? There's something to be said for passion. There's something to be said for getting up every day, pulling yourself up by the bootstraps, and saying, today is my day. Today, I am going to see it through. I am going to make sure that I take a step forward in what I have been called to do and put some skin in the game. We can do this, but we've got to come together. We cannot wait until we have been destroyed to fight back, because at that point there will be no fighting back. So let us do this. Come join us. Give us an email at commsolutionsmn@gmail.com. That's commsolutionsmn@gmail.com, because when you send us an email, we will reach back out to you and we can figure this out. We can help you run for an office. We can help you learn how to start a podcast or a blog. We can help make connections that get us moving in the right direction. Let's do this. Because the alternative really just ends in our demise. We're coming at you hard this year because we have got to hold the line. It's going to be another 4 years of Democrat rule, Democrat pressure, and we have got to learn how to finally do this on our own. We cannot shrink back. We cannot give up. It's up to us. Who will stand with us? We love you, Minnesota, but now it's your turn to get to work. If I get too caught up in my